needed it.
Tell me when the stream's underway.
You are ready.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, from Singapore for another Zoom Racing League race today. It is Division 2 around the confines of the Marina Bay Street Circuit in the heart of Singapore. 5.1 kilometers, 3.1 miles, 23 corners on a majority anti-clockwise circuit with a low average speed. The second slowest of the year behind only Monaco. Downforce is everything. Top speed doesn't matter. And it is going to be a long race. The longest of the season at just short of an hour if everything goes smoothly. If it doesn't, and it usually doesn't go smoothly around here, the worst there is opportunity for safety cars, rain, and so much to happen. It could be a cracking race, and it could take well over an hour here in Marina Bay.
Yeah, I mean,
we are with Mateo.
It is exciting. It's an awesome track. It's a driver's track. I think, people skill really comes out. You go to a Barcelona, go to a Bahrain. Everyone is kind of good at those. Singapore really separates the legends from the rest of the folks, and I'm excited to see that as we come in and start Q1.
Indeed, it is going to be a tough race. Tracks like Barcelona, Kota, Bahrain, Melbourne. These aren't tracks where those are not drivers' tracks. And then you've got places like this, Monaco, Jeddah, Suzuka. Those are the drivers' tracks. Those are the tracks everyone wants to win on. You've just not got this kind of punishment that this track can offer. Grid Jokes is one of the first on the lap. In his home Grand Prix, I happen to know for a fact he is decently fast around here. Hopefully, he does well in front of the home crowd today.
Yeah, it's always kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? Though you feel like you hear those stories of a home driver either completely busting or just having the race of his life, and so I think it'll be more of the same here. I'm an AlphaTauri fan myself, so I do hope it's more boom than bust for him.
Hopefully it is more boom than bust. I happen to know Grid Jokes very well as a friend, and I really hope he wins today, but I think it'll be difficult for him to win. Realistically, all I want is hope Alpha Tower doing well, and they've got the line-up, I think. As Good Jokes threads his way through the middle sector. And down into turn 14, he is purple to both sectors as we speak. That is a 4.7 in the middle sector there. Good Jokes will need a good race. He wasn't very good in Bahrain, I heard, but this is a better track for him, and I think a lot of people will do better here than at Bahrain. So we could see some big improvements and some big changes in the pecking order for this race. We head down into the final sector. Good Jokes opens the account a 138.034 to start off qualifying.
Well, there we go. That's not a bad start. What do you think? You know, for these D2 drivers, they're a bit quicker than the D3 guys. What do you think the goal is quality time wise? Are we Hing the 136s, or what are we doing?
I think we'll definitely get a 36. I would say Dougie, Fred, the faster guys will definitely be, I think, 36s. I think it'll be low 36s at that. So it could be an interesting one. Long lap, a tough one. I think we could easily see some drivers ending up in a wall or down escape roads, especially at the end of quali. But a 138 flat, that is a pretty good time to start off the accounts with, as Eric McNerney in the Alpha, second fastest at 138.682. You see Hoka Droldi 139.7. He didn't have the best race in D3 last time out, so he'll be hoping for better. Patotuskin, P3 at 139.0. And we'll see. Just in the nick of time, Nathan Donald, the medium tire, a 138.4. That's a really good time for the mediums.
So that's what I was going to ask. So what's the reason for some of these guys going out on the mediums in their first couple laps? Just to get their bearings, warm up to the track, or is there something else?
I think people just want to save their softs in case, and in situations where, oh yeah, I'm fast enough on the medium, why is there a point for me on going for a soft tire late in the session when I can save the soft tire for maybe Q3 or Q2 or even maybe in the race, because it pans out. There could be a safety car, lap 27, and you might not have fresh tires. You're out if you don't have fresh tires at that point. That could mean a lot with the degrade of a soft compound tire on the game. Noax in the 1 minute 40s, and Simon Colston a 1 minute 39.6. Note that all of the drivers in 6th, 7th, and 8th are on the medium tire, except for Hoka Droldi on the soft, so I think we will definitely be seeing some interesting times. Noax is a bit of an interesting character in D2.
Bit of an interesting character in like the F1 gaming community, honestly.
Yeah, with the cheating stuff, he pulled it off. He just backed off from the cheats, and I hate to say, but I don't think he should be in D2 if he's setting these times. Like, he's not the fastest driver out there, and absolutely isn't, but I hope he does well, because it's nice to see an underdog win, especially someone like Noax, who...
Hell no. I don't want that cheater to ever win, dude. He's infected us. He's plagued us. He's ruined this sport. I want to see nothing but P20s for the rest of his career.
And combined YouTuber, his teammate on the intermediate tire, 145.3. That's an exploratory lap. That's completely irrelevant to what he's been setting. Mateo, 138.7. So the home hero, Grid Jokes, still topping Q1 with 10 minutes ago.
Yep, that's pretty good. And Ethan Patel sneaks in there in the medium for P3 at the moment, a 38.6. I was with him earlier today. You know, he's practicing. He's not just an F1 guy. He's a multi-class legend. He's a Sebring 12 race winner, and then went from that right into practicing for Bahrain that 2 weeks ago, and then he's been practicing for Singapore since. So he's been putting in the work. He's an absolute racer, and I'm excited to see what he can do in Division 2.
And reigning D2 champion Dougie Falcons out of the pit lane for his, I think, one and only run in qualifying. So Ferrari are going with an interesting strategy. I was in a title fight with Dougie, and I don't think I would have beaten him. So I think he can easily defend the crown again because he can easily defend the crown. He won races when it mattered in the middle of the season and didn't lose as many points to me winning as Lights did, for example. So I think there could still be a lot. X-Max in the final sector. He goes to the line with a 1 minute 38.3.
Oh, well.
And he is lagging all over the shop.
Yeah, he's out of there. So you mentioned that title fight with Dougie. As you look to the grid right now, do you see anyone that you think can contend with him, or do you think he's going to run away with this?
Honestly, I think if Lights attends more races and stops missing races for... I don't know. If Lights changes his attitude and just becomes more into it, like attends more and becomes more consistent, I think it could be there, but I don't think anyone can match Dougie over a season. I certainly couldn't. And I think I certainly couldn't match him last season, so... Yeah, I think if Lights attends more races, it could be a rivalry, or if Fred wins, it's still up for grabs. It's round 2, but I think if Dougie enables his consistency from last season, he'll run away with it.
Well, let's see what he does for this qualifying lap as he crosses the line to start it. If you were to make any predictions right now for Dougie, I know it's Q1, you know, not high stakes at all. What do you think he's going to put on just in this Q1 run?
I think Dougie will be around P5, P6 on the grid. He's quick. So, we're still up for debate. Everything is still so much for debate that it's such a long race. It's such a tough race that I think we could still see a few drivers in a wall in the race itself, so you never know.
I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it a little bit. You know, obviously they haven't been planted in the wall, but we've definitely seen a lot of scrapes, a lot of little bumps in the wall so far, and that's, you know, they're not even fighting anybody. So I certainly agree with you. Once we get into that race, the elbows are getting out, I think. Oh, there goes a wing as we talk about it.
As we talk about the wall, Dougie hits it.
And so, you know, I think there's more of that to come for sure.
Is there any damage on that Ferrari? And I think there
probably there is on that right front wing, that right end plate.
He's lost the end plate, but it won't matter too much because what they'll do is they'll repair it, and he'll probably just got to get on the same tire. Dougie's safe, I think. He's fast, safe, and got the pace to win this championship as his compatriot Freddie Rizal. Into the final sector. A 104.9, that's not the fastest, that's not that quick, as Wild Poros goes 4th fastest at 138.4. Another Alfa Romeo Reserve. And that is Dan with the 138.1. That is the closest anyone's got to matching Gridjoke's own home soil. Dougie Falcons pits. Gridjokes is going to be out, but I think Gridjokes is out on the track. I think he may just be looking towards beating it, but he should be very safe.
And Fred with just a 38.1 right behind Dan. So a good lap from Dan, but yeah, Fred's got some time he needs to make up.
I think a lot of people will have time to make up.
And Duncan McCamick, normally he's in the Red Bull, but tonight he's in that British Racing Green. Fighting in the Aston Martin, he's going to complete his first lap right here.
Let's see what it is, where it puts him. And he breaks Singaporean hearts for a few seconds with a 137.7.
There we go.
And Singaporean hearts break a little bit as their man, Gridjokes, has been bumped down to 2nd place. Will it be a temporary bump, or is now... And Simon, a 137.8. That is a good time. And Duncan and Simon, the only 2 drivers so far to be out of the 1 minute 38s. That is an Alfa Romeo of Wild Poros going wide in the final sector. That's letting Noax through. A lap here. The Nowak's a bit of a questionable character, but he's on a lap. Or I think just about to end, just about to start a lap.
And Nathan Doan, 37.3. Wow.
That is an incredible time. Especially for Q1, that's incredible. There we have an Aston Martin of Duncan McCallum going a bit slow. He just let his phone through. Grid Jokes on home soil. He topped Q1 until he didn't, obviously, and he's now not on a lap as a result of it. Into turn 7 to end for sector. A 27-0 in sector 1. That is a quick one.
Right on the limit through this, the first 2 sectors so far. I hope we can keep it
right
together.
Right on the limit of hooking it up there. Nowak's at 27.6. Combined YouTuber will be starting in a slap, and I happen to know he is also relatively fast. I think if things do change for him, I think it could be very different. Nowak's has made a mistake, so I think he's completely backed up for this one. He's going to go again. Combined YouTuber starts his lap, but it's all watch Grid Jokes. All eyes on the home hero today. Over those curbs in the middle, in the final sector. He's got about 2 more chicanes to navigate and 2 left-handers. He's taken that nicely, and the final chicane of the lap. Over the curbs. Exited nice and fast. Now out to the final corner. Where does Grid Jokes go on the grid for his home Grand Prix? He goes second fastest to 137.4. That is a good time. Combined YouTuber, a 27.1 in the first sector. That's competitive. And Combined YouTuber had a tough season last season, just missed a lot of the races. And in Spain and Austria, the two of the races he did actually do, he was just affected by either weather or just bad luck. So I think he'll have a better season, Combined YouTuber, especially now. But last season, I think, as someone that happens to know him, really, really wasn't representative of his pace.
Well, you mentioned weather was kind of a factor for him last season.
He struggled around Spain in the wet, spun a few times and just didn't have the pace. But
well, then I think he will be happy to know that our race session will be dry. No matter what, it's forced dry, and so I think maybe he'll pull some positions out of it that he wouldn't have had.
Goes the Australian, and he goes 5th fastest to 138.0. That's a good showing for Combined YouTuber. And with 1 minute to go, I think he'll be safe. Dougie has not got too much, actually, remaining on his lap. He's got to do a good one here because... And he's just about to start it. The reigning champion, will he mess up or will he join his teammate at the front of the field? Big Q1. Mind YouTuber retiring from the session already. As Nowak's with a 139.4, he goes up into 16th. Duncan McCamick also retires. And also does do Dan and Freddie Rizal. That Combined YouTuber, I think. And Nathan Doan as well. Dougie Falcons in the first sector, 27.1. Into the middle sector. The defending champ. Zara McNerney, 4th fastest at 137.7. We will be seeing, I think, these times tumble down as drivers just get more acclimatized with the circuit here in Singapore. I think as the track grips up, as the track ramps up in order, we will definitely be seeing some lap time change here. But Nathan Doan, the D3 champion from last season, topping qualifying 1 as it stands. Dougie Falcons, though, may have an answer. He's now got about 8 more corners to wrap up this lap. Looking good for him. And into the final chicane in 4th gear, and then short shifting up into 5th on the power nice and early and up to the line. He's got 2 corners. And up to the line he goes. He goes 3rd fastest at 137.5. And that is going to, I think, put Hulkage Roldy could have a chance. Yep, he's completely invalidated that, and that will be no lap for him. And Noax is into the pits, so your knocked out drivers are CR, Alvarez, Hulkage Roldy, and Noax, and Sarah, who is serving a qualifying ban here for the Singapore Grand Prix. As Nathan Doan tops the session with a 1:37.351.
Now, would you say, or do you think that, you know, this kind of top 3, or really this top 5, do you think the top 5 in Q1 is gonna kind of stay the same throughout qualifying, or do you think we're gonna see someone like Blue Collar Jesus Garrett sneak in there, or Freddie Razzle? You know, he's not up there. He's P11 right now, and I think some people expect him to be up there. Do you think he can sneak up there, or do you think this top 5 is kind of loosely set?
I think it's loosely set because it's Q1. No one's going to be going full beans at it. Like, Grid Jokes, for example, did 2 runs on the soft tire. He will have to use, I think, a medium or a used set for Q2 or Q3 at that. He will have to use one of those sets if he doesn't want to run out of tires. So I think it's just Q1, you know. Some drivers push flat out and some others just sandbag a little bit and just do enough to stay into positions and stuff. So I think it's going to be a different top 5 once we get to Q2. But Nathan Doan is your session topper for first qualifying here in Singapore. And the big shock is Mateo out in first qualifying. For whatever reason, the game has put him in 15th despite being faster than Tataskin.
Whoa, what? Wow.
Ethan Patel makes it through to Q2 on the medium tires. But aside from that, Mateo, Alvarez, Hulkage Roldy, Noax, and Sarah are your bottom 5 drivers. Stay tuned for more, as we'll be back with second qualifying in a few minutes' time.
And as we start this Q2 session, you know, it's just started. No one's out on track yet. I just have to wonder what has just gone on between Mateo and Potato Skin. Mateo did have the faster time, but Potato Skin goes through. You know, that's kind of Shaft and Alpine, who's looking for better results. You know, the midfield is such a tough battle, and those points are super meaningful, and you get a lot of them through qualifying. Just getting better starts on the grid, and that's just super disappointing for Mateo and Alpine.
Yeah, it is disappointing, but I think they'll just have to bide their patience. This is a race where qualifying doesn't really matter. It's so many safety cars, so much opportunity to crash, and there will be a safety car in this race. Like, I can already see it. There will be a safety car. No matter if it's dry, wet, or hail at that. It just will happen. Oh, and that's Freddie Razzle for a spin out of turn 5. I think the Red Bull doesn't seem to have much in the way of damage because it was a slow speed spin. And indeed, it doesn't look too damaged.
But he's struggling just to get back out, pointed the right direction.
It is going to be a tough session for Freddie Razzle if he spins out like that, but hopefully he makes it through because... But it will be an interesting one, I think. It will definitely be an interesting race. So we have got news from the paddock that Mateo crashed out in Q1 so that he doesn't have a car to take part. So as a result, he was eliminated.
Keeping those mechanics busy, trying to get the car ready for the race start.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in much time, is it? Only 30, 40 minutes until then. And then we got multiple drivers on that C4 medium. I think if it's dry, what tire do you think you're going to be starting on? Would you want to go on the mediums, get that early pace advantage, and then hold on to track position when the hards get you? Or would you want to go for long on the hards, praying it doesn't rain or there's no safety car until you pit?
See,
Because this could be an interesting one.
the odds of the safety car are just so high here, especially in these online races. I think you have to bank on a safety car here, multiple even. And I know when you say that they never happen, but that's the odds are in the safety car's favor. So I think you gotta go for the mediums. I just think that's the smart play.
Yeah, I think we'll see some people, especially people out of position, starting on the medium tire. But I think we might see some starting on the softs, which, knowing their prior history around here, is a very bold move. It's incredibly bold. It's historically been an awful race tire. It has had no pace, and just it shreds itself very quickly. It doesn't last long, and it shreds itself to pieces very quickly. And yeah, I think those on the soft tire, whoever person decides to start on the soft tire, will be paying a big penalty. There's no safety car out on the circuit. My YouTuber still in the pits, and Gurjuk's coming to the end of the lap. Yep. On home turf, where he racks up fourth gear through the second last chicane.
But Nathan Doan will be the first one to finish a lap in Q2. We're going to see if he makes a little step up from the end of Q1. What will his time be as we start the session? A
1:37.9. That is 6 tenths off his first Q1 run, but combined YouTuber out onto the circuit. Nathan Gridjokes goes second fastest at 1:38.353, and Wild Porro's in the Alfa Romeo at 1:38.6, and Eric McNerney, his teammate, joins him at 1:38.9. See, blue collar Jesus. And Gridjokes' teammate, Patotaskin, fourth fastest at 1:38.916. So,
Duncan McCamick, 37.6.
And Duncan McCamick tops the session at 1:37.659 for the Aston Martin Reserve. And he is very fast indeed.
Garrett Elder right there, P3, 38.1.
Let's see, and Dan beats it at 1:38.161, and Max on 1:37.402. That is a fast time.
I think Dan flew under the radar a little bit in that Q1 session. He ended up like P10, I believe. He beat out Ethan Patel. He beat out Freddie Rizal, and so I think Dan's also one to look out for. Both the Williams are this weekend.
Yep. And then Simon Colston up to the line at 1:38.2. He goes 7th fastest. The only 3 drivers yet to set a time, combined YouTuber who is starting it, Ethan Patel and Freddie Rizal. They're going to be doing laps very, very soon. And we will get an idea of the pecking order. Who do you think will be on pole?
I'll tell you who I'm rooting for. Unrealistically, I'm rooting for Freddie or Ethan to get pole. They're not going to get pole this weekend. So I'm rooting for Nathan, personally, to get pole position here. I think he deserves it. He's awesome. He's a fast driver. And I want that Ferrari. I want that side of the garage to share some success. So I'm rooting for Nathan Doan. Who do you think is going to get pole?
I will say that Dougie will be on pole. He is probably the fastest driver out of anyone so far, and I think if he gets pole, I think this race is just run and done unless he makes a mistake.
And you fought with him, so you tell us, does Dougie Falcons make mistakes?
Very rarely. I think only in Brazil I noticed it, and at Imola he had a controller problem, which put him in the wall, so that can be crossed off immediately. I think in that D2 season, last season, I was clearly third best behind Dougie and Lights. I got into the fight on consistency. I didn't get into the fight because I won everything. I literally had only 2 podiums, and I was like third in the standings and in like mid-season. I didn't even have like, I just kept finishing in the top 4, top 5, top 6, so that I would actually do well in races, you know. So I think with this point system, just missing a race like I have last week, it's just gonna cost you so much, especially for Lions, who is probably gonna be pretty mad at himself for well, failing to win last season. He just misses 2 races in a row, so I think that could be goodbye to title farms. Combined YouTuber, 6th fastest, 1:38.161. He's tied with Dan, but as Dan said his time earlier, he's ahead. And there is a nice fight for 5th, 6th, 7th, all separated by less than by 0.015 of a second.
Unbelievably close.
As Ethan Patel has invalidated, but Freddie Rizal here, who hasn't looked strong, and he's had a few moments on his outlaps into the final sector. We've got a few corners to take, the British driver. This could be a Dougie versus Fred title fight. It could be a British rivalry here in Division 2. 2 drivers that are both very fast, and I think it could happen that one of them wins out. Up to the line then goes Freddie Rizal, and it is a 1 minute 37.3, and he tops the session.
There we go, Fred.
And I think Freddie Rizal, despite looking a bit off color in Q1 and struggling with the spins and the slides on his outlaps, I think he's just gone and shown everyone what he can do. So I think he could be in this if he can get his stuff together, you know?
Yeah, he definitely needs to do that. I think this is great for his confidence. He had said previously, I'll be surprised if I get into Q3. So with a time like that, I definitely think he will make it into Q3. So just keep on improving from there.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be that Fred will get through. I think the cutoff time will be a 37. So we're going to get Dan, combined YouTuber, Blue Collar Jesus, Simon, Good Jokes, Will Poros, and maybe Taskin improving on their lap times. Especially Good Jokes, who is on the medium tire, who set his lap on the mediums. And now that the softs have way more potential on a grippier track, I think he could go roughly 6th, 7th as faster, so he could be up there, I think, for the top
4. Well, we're on with P11 in the Alfa Romeo, Wild Poros, as he tries to make his way into the top 10. He definitely, it's hard to say because, Grid Jokes will make it out there, but he has a good chance right now, at least for now. As everyone, as you said, will getting faster and faster with 4 minutes remaining in this qualifying 2 session.
Into the final sector goes Wild Poros. He's 3 tenths up. That probably won't get him through, but let's see. Into the final section of the circuit goes the Canadian driver, as he threads his way through the final chicanes of the lap, taking a lot of curb in that final corner, completely avoiding the T21 curb. Up to the line, he's got 2 more corners. What can Wild Poros do in the Alfa Romeo? It will be a 1:37.755.
There we go.
That is a good time.
Yeah, he really smashed it in that sector 3 right there.
He had a really good final sector, indeed. But all eyes will be on Pato Taskin, as he's one of the few on a lap. Dan is on a lap as well, and Blue Collar Jesus as well, while a combined YouTuber, the Australian driver, out onto the circuit to begin his final runs.
And Potato Skin, there in P12, had a bit of a squirrely sector 3, lost traction, had to catch himself. So as he comes to line, he just goes right back into the pits, yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna... He's probably gonna have enough time, I think, for one more, but it will be very tight. I think what they'll do is... He'll probably just change it to a fresh tire and go out again.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Blue Collar Jesus, a.k.a. Garrett Elder, in the Williams, Williams Team Principal is around a second up on his time.
Ooh. Blue Collar Jesus out here. Could he be the first man into the 1 minute 36s all weekend long here in Singapore? He's got 2 more corners to take. And he's going to do it fast here in Marina Bay. Up to the line he goes. And he is the first man in the 1 minute 36s.
Smashes it. Absolutely smashes it.
Absolutely smashes that time out of the water. A 136.5. I think that's a pole confirmation right there. Or it could just be like an aero case where he just overachieves so much that it's not necessary.
I don't know, but now all eyes are on his teammate Dan. Can he replicate similar success as he crossed the line from P8 to P3 in the 37.3? It's a great improvement.
And all eyes are on the home hero himself. But let's watch combined YouTuber first. He has got 2 more corners. He's gonna start, but Gridjokes on his home Grand Prix. He's racing for the people of Singapore. He's representing the country, and let's see where he ends up. With 27.3 in the first sector. That's not the fastest, and he's got roundabout about 2 miles before he ends the lap. He's going to go around the Padang concert area and into the other part of the final, the other part of sector 2. The ATL3 looking neat and tidy in that middle section. He's just got the final hairpin into the Anderson Bridge, taking it a wide line in 3rd gear. The hometown driver, and he is up and away out of there quickly. 104.5, that's half a second up on the time he last set. So he could be up there, Gridjokes, and he needs to. He's now got the final section of the lap.
And we've seen drivers over and over, you know, gain massive time in Sector 3, so he needs to replicate this if he's going to get in. He's P11 right now. He's looking for a phenomenal time. Where will he stand?
He's got 2 more corners, Gridjokes, and he's now facing the river. He's turning left once. He's turning left once again. A 137.6. That is marginal. That is indeed marginal. But that's a good time nonetheless. Duncan McCammock starting his final run. Nathan Doan is about to end his. Combined YouTuber in the final sector. Will the controller advantage on this part of the circuit with the slightly increased traction, not to degrade anyone, but the controller does have a bit more traction. It is negated. Into the final corner goes combined YouTuber. Up to the line, a 137.9. He is in the cutoff zone, and he will definitely be beaten unless Nathan Doan and Simon Colston evaded him.
Nathan Doan needs an insane final turn right here. He was down or up on his, like, he was plus 0.04, I believe. He needs a great final turn.
He does it. He knocks combined YouTuber. That is a shock. And Simon Colston is probably going to be out of this one as well.
Ethan Patel about to make it to the line. Said his first time, you know, didn't give himself a lot of leeway with this. Will he make it to Q3?
Dougie Falcons, a 136.9. Ethan Patel, 4th fastest, 137.3. Let's see, Simon Colston, unless Simon gets an incredible lap, I don't think he'll be knocking Nathan Donald up to the line. He doesn't.
Next up, Potato Skin. He's in Sector 3.
He's got roughly a few more corners, and hopefully he makes it, but Nathan Doan. But at least your knocked out drivers are Wild Poros, Simon Colston, combined YouTuber, and Pataskin up to the line, and Pataskin improves but doesn't improve. He stays 14th. So that, I think, is your Q1 here in Marina Bay. That's your second qualifying. Blue Collar Jesus with the lap of his life, a 136.569. And Dougie Falcons on the front row. X-Max, Freddie, Technic Speedy, or Ethan Patel. Dan, Eric McNerney, Gridjokes, Duncan McCammock, and Nathan Doan are your Q3 drivers.
Yeah, Garrett Elder, I don't know. Is he gonna get that 36.1 in Q3? I think he
I
could.
think he could get it.
I think he could.
It'll definitely be possible. I think it could just be like an aero stall situation, because in D3 he was Fortes clear the rest of the field and he just didn't get the lap in time, so you never know with aero. You never know with these situations.
But Dan, also, a lot of people before the season starts were counting him out already, and going into Q3 in the Williams, both Williams make it into Q3. I mean, they're moving up in the world.
Nope. And away we go for the final qualifying session of the day here in Singapore. And away we go for the final shootout here in qualifying. The final qualifying shootout is underway. Who will be getting pole?
Obviously last time I said Nathan Doan, and he proceeded to go P10, so I'm changing it. I don't want to jinx my guy, so I'm not really going to say who I want to get pole. So I'll go with a safe-ish choice. I'm not going to say Dougie Falcons. That seems like too safe, so I'm going Duncan McCamick, pole position.
Ooh. Duncan McCamick, that's a bold one, and I hope he does it. Duncan in D2 would be a side, but Nathan Doan and Blue Collar Jesus already out of the pit lane to start their final runs here in Singapore. And all eyes will be on the home hero himself, Greg Jokes. Hopefully he can stick it out there. He's got the pace, and he could very well stick it out there at the front of the field with other drivers.
All right, Mr. Cube, tell me, what makes a driver great on this track? Is it the bravery on traction? Is it just the throwing yourself into the corners? Is it the braking? What makes a driver on this track?
I think it's a number of factors. First of all, managing tire temperature, especially on the rear. So many of these corners are low speed, putting a lot of emphasis on that rear tire and managing fragile C5s, the softest Pirelli brings, and they usually bring it here. And I think another reason is just car control over the curbs. You have to be smooth, precise, and not really get carried away by the corners. And this is also a circuit that requires heavy momentum, especially through the middle sector. You require momentum around here. So many of these corners are low speed, medium speed, and momentum at those speeds, 60, 70 miles an hour. You're taking a lot of these corners in, and you're just going to need momentum because there's not a lot of downforce and there's not a lot of tire grip either at that speed. So it's all on a driver's, I think, abilities to get off the power, one. Two, car control, especially over some of the higher curves in the final sector. And three, tire temperature management, which is the big thing around here with high ambient temps. Even though it is a night race, the ambient temps are pretty high around here in the upper 20 Celsius, so about 75 to 80 Fahrenheit. I think that's all I have to say.
Is there anything these drivers can do setup-wise that would kind of mitigate this tire deg, or is it just something you got to deal with no matter your setup?
I think around this track you have to deal with it because so many of these corners, low speed with no straights around here. The longest pure straight is 10 seconds. And you just come past like 10 corners in a row that are roughly the same speed and size. So I don't think it's just that driving that little bit smoother in, let's say, the middle sector could pay off near the end of the lap with regards to temperature on the rear tire. It could pay off This C5 tire is incredibly fragile. It doesn't survive a lot, but it gives max grip, so that I think avoiding sliding and just adapting your driving style to suit the demands of the circuit, which for Singapore are kind of similar to Bahrain, a lot of low speed, a lot of low speed traction zones, just with max downforce now. We're running, I think, the highest downforce all season, barring Monaco. And yeah, I think that's it. Just it's part of the temperature of the circuit. It is so hot here. It is also so humid, and even if it is a night race, it still doesn't cool down here because we're so close to the equator, geographically speaking, that it doesn't cool down. It doesn't go, let's say, 31 degrees Celsius during the day down to 13 Celsius. It doesn't go like that way. It's only 3-4 degrees drop. It's might be 32 Celsius during the day. It's at 90 Fahrenheit, and then it'll be 29 Celsius or 84 Fahrenheit at night when qualifying begins. So I think it's just something you have to deal with around here. It's just part of the circuit. So many of these corners, the high temperatures. Drivers that excel at managing this will do well around here.
And through about halfway through Q3, we've got, a little over half, well over half now, drivers completing a lap. 6 minutes left. Nathan Doan is your leader so far with a 36.9, but as we saw, Garrett Alder can definitely do way more than that, which I would assume several other drivers in here can as well. So 6.5 minutes left. Let's see what they can do.
Garrett Alder, invalid lap, so I think he'll be going again, and some of these guys will need to be prepared around here, even if you do have a bad qualifying, even if you are near the back of the field at turn 1. It still doesn't matter because there's so much opportunity for this race to change that everything just turns differently. A good racer can turn into shit instantly because you went on the wrong tire. It nearly did for me when I stayed on slick tires on a kind of wet track, and I got saved by the weather. By a safety car.
So where would you say also, you say there's plenty of opportunities. Where would you say, as Duncan invalidates his lap right there, where would you say the greatest opportunities to overtake are on this track?
Say turn 7 and turn 1, because they're the biggest braking zones after the longest straights. If your name is Felipe Massa, you can go into the hairpin. It's wider. It's not that narrow, but it is quite slow, and there is a DRS zone after it. And maybe you can make one into turn 14 or 16, but those are unorthodox passing spots around this circuit. So I would say really just turn 7 in a normal point. Turn 1 is relatively fast, and turn 7 you do have an actual straight proceeding in a way. So I wouldn't say that you would really be able to overtake a turn 1 after doing 20 laps, after doing 5 corners at low speed and just killing your tires with dirty air and the causing understeer. So I would say turn 7 really at the end of the long straight.
We've got 4 minutes left. Everyone's either in the pit or coming to the pit. It's almost time for them to make their name, write their histories. And so one final time, you think Dougie Falcons is going to put it on pole? Who do you think is going to challenge him then? Who do you think is the next best shot to challenge him for pole?
I think Blue Collar Jesus.
Let's see what we can do. You think that when will they go out at exactly 3 minutes, or you think they're going to start going out right now, or
2 minutes 30 to 3 minutes, somewhere around then.
Shake the nerves out. throw up in your lap if you need to do that. You're ready to go out on track. And is that the hometown hero? Is that Grid Jokes going out first?
No. See who goes out. I think it is Nathan Doan. And Grid Jokes is out. The home driver here in Singapore. Probably said it about a million times, but
You can never say it enough.
I know, right? Grid Jokes is racing in Malaysia now, but we move. So I think these final few runs will be very important for drivers, as if it is dry, it's going to be very difficult to overtake, and I think some bravery on the brakes will be key to passing around here. We saw it in Division 3 in the rain. I think a lot of the moves that were done were on the brakes for Turn 7, were just dive bombs launched by miles away, so there's still a risk of that as we head into one of the toughest races of the season, or arguably the toughest race on fatigue and management.
And you said, do you think that'll come into play? You know, Hokage, Ethan Patel, I'm sure there's someone else on this grid that I'm missing right now. They have just went through this already, through, you know, the most taxing, physically, mentally draining circuit. Do you think that's gonna show out this time? As you know, Ethan Patel's got to do this back to back. You think it'll kind of kick in? You think we'll see some signs of fatigue?
I think it might. If it's long enough, I think it very well could. We saw it. We've seen people make mistakes, and I think with a race like this that takes just north of an hour to just finish in the dry, barring no safety cars, it takes 55 minutes to finish this race in the dry. I think we could very well see some fatigue kick in for drivers that have either slept less or are just tired or whatnot. And with the wall so close, I think it definitely becomes a more tiring race. And for those that are tired, at least it's not raining, because then it would be twice as tiring. Yeah, the start of G3 was a bit wet, and that was a pain. It was very long. Just things when you get to some tracks. Not every track is going to be Monza or Jeddah or Barcelona or Melbourne, where you can finish the race in 30 minutes. Nathan Doan, however, with a good first sector, 3/10 up, as he heads down into the Padang, into turn 9, down to the other part of sector 2, 4th gear, and then through the chicane, and then through the Anderson Bridge, and then through the hairpin. Wide entry, you have to take the apex, and then you have to run it out as close to the wall as you can without invalidating. And then down the back straight into turn 14. Runs parallel with the circuit, as qualifying 3 is officially over. These will be the laps that we'll all get here in Marina Bay. Freddie Rizal, 27. Oh, and Dan spins it.
Oh.
Big one there, and X-Max is not on the best lap. See, Grid Jokes, the first across the line on his home Grand Prix. What can he do? A 136.8. He goes on pole. Watch out though, Nathan Doan is on a really good lap. He's gonna smash it at 136.4. Freddie Rizal has got the walls. He's close to the walls.
Blue collar Jesus next across the line. Does he replicate his previous success?
No, he doesn't.
Does
he stays. He goes third only. It's only third on the grid. Freddie Rizal, the first Brit to cross the line.
Eric McNerney first, goes P7 right there.
And as it stands, Nathan Doan is on provisional pole by over 3/10. Up to the line goes Freddie Rizal. Can he spoil the Ferrari party? He doesn't. Only a 36.7. And X-Max, he's got the final part of the lap. But Dougie Falcons, Technic Speedy, Ethan Patel, 137.8. Doesn't improve. And
wow,
it's a Ferrari front row lockout here in Singapore. But Duncan McCormack says no to that.
Dude, I mean, my prediction, Nathan Doan and then Duncan McCormack. Hey.
And Nathan Doan is on pole for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Duncan McCormack P2 and Dougie Falcons P3 followed behind Freddie Rizal X-Max P5 in that Mercedes. Grid Jokes, the hometown hero, makes a P6. Blue Collar Jesus, who had a phenomenal Q2, could not make it a phenomenal Q3, ends up P7. With his teammate Dan, P8, Ethan Patel, P10, and Eric Minerni in the Alfa Romeo, P9. Well, how about that?
And we will see you for the 31 laps Grand Prix in a few minutes' time. No. We'll see a win.
If I had to say who's gonna win, obviously I'm rooting for Nathan Doan, but it's tough. You know, Dougie Falcons is so consistent. He's that guy.
And yep, everyone is leaving the session, so we have to leave.
We will
be back in
Intermission.
a bit for 31 laps here in Marina Bay for the single.
We're loading in. Now, Mr. Cube, you have to remind me, do we do formation laps in this league?
Don't think so.
Alright, there we go. No formation laps.
And welcome everyone to the Singapore Grand Prix. It is 31 laps ahead of the drivers here on the tight streets of Marina Bay, or downtown Singapore. We cross the waterfront, we cross bridges, we have multiple tight chicanes and a lot of bumps and a low average lap speed to complete the cake. It'll be a long one, it'll be a tiring one for the drivers. Who do you think will win this Singapore GP?
I mean, it's just so much chaos can happen. Several seasons ago, I qualified P2, and I died at turn 1. I just got taken out by a driver on the grid, Big Mama Frank. Anything can happen here as the lights go 3, 4, 5.
And away we go. And it's pedal to the metal here in Marina Bay. And pole sitter Nathan Doan. Watch out for Dougie Falcons. He could have a good start. He's going to be side by side. And Max in the Mercedes gets a good start, but it's a Ferrari 1-2. Out of the first chicane they go. And let's see that Sarah is already making up positions. Eric McNerney, the Alfa Romeo, changing positions. And Sarah already up into 15th place. There is Potaskin, Hokedroldi, and Noax at the back of the field. But it is a good start for Grid Jokes. It is a good start for Ferrari. They're 1 and 2 here on the opening sector of the Singapore Grand Prix.
I mean, and that went pretty clean so far.
Ooh,
Unfortunately,
and Duncan taps the back of Dougie. Not a major tap, but I think Duncan is starting to get a little impatient. He's lost second at the line here in Singapore.
Of course, we've seen a little bit of contact so far. Not too much. We have some big losers. Dan already down into P13. Simon down into P16. And Syra already up made 5 positions. But overall, it's been pretty even, pretty clean.
Well, watch out, Mateo. Nearly into the wall at the Anderson Bridge. Gets a tap. It's a love tap from the Williams there. And Grid Joke spinning around. And that's not what the locals want to hear here.
Oh, and there's chaos behind. Okage Noax completely crashed out.
And that is probably going to be a safety car. Noax is out and done, and that is the safety car. As I mentioned, here in Singapore, the safety car is out, and it is not a good day for AlphaTauri. Not a good start.
I mean, and this is what we talked about earlier, back all the way in Q1, we were talking about when you're the hometown hero, it's boom or bust. And unfortunately, right now for Grid Jokes, it's been a bust.
It has been a bad start for Grid Jokes, but there are still 30 laps remaining in this race. He can easily pull out something from the bag here, but Combined YouTuber now knows that he probably won't have anyone to help him in this race, as his teammate Noax is out on the opening lap here in Singapore. Rather than Hokedroldi and Noax, the two drivers out of this race. Syra, Simon Colston, and Big Mama Frank have pitted for medium tires. That will definitely not be getting to the end of this race. They will have to stop again. I think they might just be banking on another safety car or a very, very bold option here to go on to maybe if it rain. No, it won't rain. But the bold strategy choices already made by some of the guys at the back of the field here in Marina Bay.
So, I mean, we're noticing everyone in the top 10 has these hard compound tires. How difficult is it to warm them up or keep the temperature in them so that you can have a good, safe restart?
I think it is pretty difficult because with no formation lap, you start at 92 Celsius or whatever it is in Fahrenheit, and because the hards don't really gain a lot of temperature unless you drive like a maniac, it's going to be difficult, I think, for especially those guys that have just come out of the pits or anyone on like cold tires, for people that have just spun or had moments. It's going to be tough to warm them up. And Singapore is a track that doesn't have a lot of intensity on the tires. It's not an intensive circuit on degradation wise as in the corners. They're all low speed, they're all chicanes, and they've all got something between them. That it's not like Suzuka or Barcelona or Silverstone where you've got multiple high speed turns in a row that stress the front tires, and then you don't have a lot of straights. Singapore, you don't have a lot of straights, you have a lot of low speeds. So I think warming the rears is going to be a critical thing. The fronts around here, they can be kind of tough to heat.
As we stroll around in this safety car, they're weaving and bobbing. We're going to say hi, hello to hi, hello in the YouTube chat. You seem a little bit deranged, but I like the spirit. Yeah, you mentioned the rears are going to be important to get temperature into, and I'm thinking, you know, I don't know what's telling me this. It's just a feeling in my gut that Duncan McCamick is going to have good tire warm-up. I feel like he's going to try to go for a move on Dougie at the start. Do you think the Ferrari are going to play a little game and maybe let Nathan get a little bit forward, Dougie holds up the rest of the pack so we can get a little bit of a gap, or do you think they're just gonna play it hard, like they're not teammates basically?
I think they're probably gonna let Dougie through because Dougie's got the better hopes of the championship, and while Nathan is very, very fast, I think Dougie is just still a better driver in general, and I think if it does come down to a situation, I think they'll probably just let Dougie through to win the race or something, because the thing is, they will rather have a 1-2 than to have them play hard, so that's not going to happen. I don't think they want to lose their points this early on. And Sarah at the back of the field, and we might be getting the safety car in at the end of the 4th lap, so it will be in most likely at the end of the next lap, which will be lap 4:31 here in Singapore. And yep, the safety car will be in at the end of lap 3, and Nathan Doan backing up the entire field just to get temperature on the tires. He's doing a bit of warm-up. Same with Dougie Falcons. And Duncan McCamick as well hasn't warmed. No one has kept tire temperature. And Blue Collar Jesus is going very slow as well. So not a lot of drivers have kept tire temperature in there in this race. It will be an interesting finish. Let's see. Nathan Doan pulls the trigger, and same with the Ferraris. And look at Duncan. He's lost so much time. And what I said, Duncan is miles behind.
Yeah, he got caught sleeping right there. The Ferraris, they played a good little team game right there. Just caught Duncan sleeping.
They've just called Duncan falling asleep, I think, on the restart, and the Aston Martin reserve driver is not going to be getting anything. Duncan versus Dougie versus Nathan. Will they let Nathan through to possibly annoy Duncan for the entire race, and Dougie runs away with it, or will they let Nathan give Dougie DRS and Nathan has nowhere to go because of the
I want to see him fight for it. I don't want to see him, let him through this, let him through that.
And sorry to interrupt you, but Freddie, Rizal versus X-Max, they had to look up the outside into turn 10. That was not going to happen anytime soon. As we see a bit of a train forming up behind Blue Collar Jesus. He's holding up a lot of cars. That's in turn kind of the lead train in a sense. Duncan McCamick is falling out and out of that lead train. Maybe he might be saving battery. And the Ferrari guys haven't burnt a lot either, so it's Blue Collar Jesus who's burnt the most, and Eric McNerney absolutely drained his battery. He's down to 33%. So I think he won't have a lot left, but and into the final sector, combined YouTuber versus Mateo. The Haas driver defends that out, but combined YouTuber really struggled in qualifying and isn't exactly in it today. He hasn't been in it on these first laps. Nathan Doan opens the account to 143.5 to start things off. And Grid Jokes, the home
There we
hero,
go.
half a second faster.
But yeah, those two Ferraris are, I mean, they're pulling away a little bit from Duncan McCamick and, you know, effectively the rest of the field. Duncan's going to need to just use a little bit of battery, stay in the DRS and pull away from Max, but it'll be interesting to see if he can actually do that.
I think what they're going to try to do, I think what Duncan will do is he'll use a lot of battery. Alvarez gets past Wild Poros on the medium tire combined YouTuber defending from Mateo, the young prodigy, and that might get Grid Jokes into it as well.
Ooh.
Mateo sends one on combined and he
Oh!
gets spun around and he spins, he saves
Catches
it.
it. There we go.
Yeah, he catches it, but he's lost places as well. He's lost to Combined and the AlphaTauri. Maybe a battle between Combined and Grid Jokes for 11th place here on this 5th lap here in Singapore.
And that gap, Duncan McCamick, it's almost 1 second. It's 9/10. He's
Yeah,
got to keep
Duncan
it under
McCamick
that.
dropping. So I think the Ferraris haven't wasted that much battery to get away from Duncan. So they know, they've been told to run away with this. And Nathan Doan 142.5 and Dougie Falcons running away from his teammate as Alvarez sets the fastest lap of the race on the medium tire. And DRS has been enabled, and this is why I think the Ferraris have put Duncan McCamick out of drag reduction system. He doesn't have no, that's actually wrong. Duncan has DRS. No. See, he doesn't have DRS on Duncan McCamick. And Dougie Falcons behind his teammate, Nathan Doan. Still 1-2 for Ferrari, but Duncan and Dougie's wasted most of his battery. Is the worst consumption of the top 3 and the second worst of the top 5. So I think we could see a nice 3-car fight for the win here.
Yeah, it's certainly cooking up to be quite the interesting race.
Quite a strategic one. I think it's going to be a strategic race. See, out of the final hairpin, Duncan McCamick has to go back in the DRS of the Ferraris, which is what they don't want. As Nathan Doan leads this race by half a second from teammate Dougie Falcons, and Grid Jokes gets past Combined YouTuber and the Singapore driver has a sight set on Wild Poros for 10th place.
Yeah, making their way back up. You know, at one point the AlphaTauris were dead last, and you know, through other drivers pitting or doing whatever, they've made their way back up almost in the top 10.
Duncan McCamick, the fastest lap of the race at 142.4, and now Blue Collar Jesus at 142.4. Times are tumbling here in Singapore. I think we'll just see a bit more pushing, a bit more hot lapping until these guys get there.
Is it just me? I mean, I feel like Dougie Falcons is inching closer and closer to Nathan Doan as each lap goes on. Looks like he might have had a peek at him right there. Didn't go for a dive, I think. I mean, obviously, I don't think either one of them are going to dive each other, but certainly looking at it. Not great exit right there, but
I think it's just that the Ferraris don't want to fight each other too hard, because if they do, then that might allow Duncan to lead the race. So I think they just want to annoy Duncan a little bit and have him lose time, and then they can trigger an undercut or something.
Dougie's used quite a bit of battery compared to Nathan and compared to Duncan. About a 40% difference. Max as well. They're down in the 50s.
Dougie and Max, and especially Eric, have... And Alvarez, the first person to get a time penalty for track limits in this race.
Okay, so that's good that you mentioned Alvarez. Alvarez, Simon, and Big Mama Frank. Big Mama Frank has a collision, actually. They're on the medium tires. We know they don't last as long as the hards. Around what lap are they going to be pitting on those medium tires?
I would say around 12 to 14. So the pit window is coming for the medium guys.
So if a safety car happened this lap, would those medium guys come in as well, or is it just a tiny bit too early?
I think they could come in and do it fine. It would be marginal, but they would be able to do it. I think that would be a situation, where medium hard would be the only way. And Grid Jokes gets Wild Poros into the middle sector. They're running nearly side by side, and Grid Jokes gets pushed into the wall. And he doesn't have a front wing either. Disappointment for the home hero.
Wow.
So we want to see, and down to 15th. Down into the turn 14 hairpin. Mateo gets overtaken by Potato Skin. Grid Jokes, no front wing in that AlphaTauri. I think, unless there's another safety car, his race is run and done today.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate for him. Dan is locked behind the AlphaTauri driver, who will be pitting to, I think, replace his front wing first and foremost.
And this top 5, really this top 6, still super close together 10 laps into this race.
Yeah, running very close indeed. They're running very tight. Happens to Grid Jokes. Does he retire? Does he change his front wing? He's changing the front wing right now. He's back out onto the circuit. Now, Big Mama Frank versus Sire, who hasn't had good pace today. The Red Bull driver. And even with the spin, combined YouTuber struggling to stay behind Wild Poros for 10th position. He didn't have a great qualifying, and he isn't having the best of races right now, combined YouTuber.
Nope. And yeah,
down a second too, and that is Grid Jokes spinning off.
What a horrible race for him so far. It really is just absolute bust in the home GP.
Indeed it is. It's a bust and a half.
But Syra in P17 is what really interests me. You know, I feel like he's so inconsistent. Sometimes he looks like a world beater, and then other times he looks like he's never driven a car before. And
yeah,
you just gotta, even if you lower your ceiling, if you just bring up your floor where you're more consistent overall, and maybe fighting for those P10s like consistently. But right now he's just pitiful.
Another choice for Red Bull that doesn't pan out that well. And your top 5 are still in top 6 are still all in this DRS train.
And Duncan McCormick's been getting closer. You know, at one point he was those 9/10ths, and now he's, consistently within 5/10ths.
He can't seem to get close enough is the difference. He's just not close enough and not able to save. I think Duncan may just be saving his tires. He may just be protecting them a little more because the pit window is coming in 6-7 laps. These guys will all pit. So I think we could see an early stop from Duncan there to, I don't know, try getting past one of the Ferraris, or probably getting both through an undercut, or maybe staying out long. I think Dougie Falcons is definitely losing time now. He was right behind his teammate, but he's just not behind anymore. Not as far back, not as close as he used to be.
So what is more powerful? Is it the undercut? Is it the overcut? Like, if you're Duncan, what are you thinking right now?
I would say an undercut. Probably risk it, pit lap 15, 16, and see where you end up. see where I'd end up because it's a long pit lane and the whole field's in trains. So if I personally would find enough track space to go for clean air, I would go for an undercut.
About a third of the way through the Grand Prix so far. Only one safety car, but 2 drivers out as Grid Jokes. Some slight redemption right there.
A relatively meaningless fastest lap here.
But, you know, you take what you can get when you're P18.
Yeah, best you can do at this rate. All you can do is really wait for a safety car because it's just about the only thing that will save him from a disappointing result.
And Ethan Patel in P7 right now. 3 seconds off the leading pack.
And Mateo, the second person to get a time penalty, and that is one of the Alpines with 3 seconds of penalties, the young prodigy.
Yeah, he's riding on that tail of Potato Skin. I feel like lap after lap just can't find a place to overtake because Potato Skin's, you know, still in that DRS of combined YouTuber.
See what Alvarez is thinking. May Alvarez be going for an aggressive stop, a very aggressive strategy onto the softs, which would require some excellent tire saving. He's still going to have grip from that medium tire, which is surprising 12 ups into the Grand Prix, so I think he may just be going for a medium soft, which will probably result in his tires blowing up.
But he's got absolutely 0 battery, completely drained. His Duncan McCammon
Duncan,
gets... Wow.
That's a big one. Yep. That's going to haunt him. That's going to haunt him.
Yeah, that is devastating.
That is his race gone, I think.
But, you know, to win on track, fuck the penalties.
Oh, and there's yellow flags, and that is because been an incident somewhere with Big Mama Frank and Simon Colston, but they've recovered. And Syrah pits to Syrah has gone around at turn 1. He's shown himself back on the track, but not been a good race for Syrah at all. Just not really had the pace, and with the spin and the restart.
Yeah, been a bit pitiful.
Bit of a painful one if you're Syrah. You don't have anywhere to go because you're 40 seconds behind behind the group of cars you want to be in.
But if you're Grid Jokes and Syrah, you just gotta pray that you don't get lapped, because if there's a safety car on your lap,
yeah, that's race over. And now into turn 1, Freddie Rizal versus X-Max. Up the inside, not quite. Big Mama Frank and Dan. Big Mama Frank and Dan fighting through the final corner of Singapore. Not the type of place you want to make an overtake on this 5-kilometer track, but the moves stick.
Yeah, Big Mama Frank up into P14. There's a 3-way battle right there for that position.
Potato Skin gets a penalty as combined YouTuber has dropped out of his Wild Forces Jars. Will the Australian driver, who hasn't shown great pace today, he's acceptable, but he's in relative safety as the 2 drivers behind him both have time penalties. So if he doesn't get one, if combined stays clean, he will still get Potato and Potato at current rates. This could be an interesting fight to look forward to.
Yep, Brianna.
Sorry, retiring from the Singapore Grand Prix. A 5-second penalty, which is meaningless as he caps off his painful day. To the final couple corner of lap 13. I'm surprising at 13 laps into this Grand Prix and we've only had an early safety car, but aside, it's actually ran into a pretty fast rhythm this race.
It definitely has.
Going by a bit quicker than usual. Martin Sarah retires from the Singapore Grand Prix, and I think that's him done and over with. Just
I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep racing after that.
Yeah, and Alvarez, the first to pit for hard compound tires. I mean, it doesn't look too badly worn out, but the hard tires are going to be fitted onto the McLaren driver, and he will be out in 16th place. It'll be a painful outlap for Alvarez on cold hards on a circuit where heating isn't that easy. It's not easy to heat the tires around here, and he's going to have a tough outlap, so let's see what he does. Maybe he finds temperature onto those tires and he don't warm up fast, but this is not an easy track. Oh, and Big Ball and Frank down the escaper at turn number 7. An incident. It's a Summon versus Dan for P13. Alvarez has found it, I think, and he's driving the circuit as it should. Not been a bad race for Alvarez at all. He's had a good one, even though he's been sitting. He's taking advantage of those medium tires, and he's just had a good race so far. But you never know. Which one of the leaders is going to pit first, you think?
Well, Duncan just hit the wall just a tad bit. Don't know if there's any yellow damage.
Doesn't seem to, I think. See, no pit stop for the Aston Martin. But I think some pit stops are going to start coming at the end of lap 15.
It's Freddie Wurzel, and he was the last of that train.
Oh, he's pitting.
And he's pitting, so we're going to see where he comes out at. This is pretty crucial. He needs a great outlap.
He needs the outlap, I think, and he's going to open the first pit stop accounts here. He's opened the bank, and he'll rejoin somewhere around 14th place. It will be an outlap for him that he needs to do fast before moving on. As Big Mama Frank comes into the pits for medium tires as well. Freddie Rizal out of turn 5. He had a spin here in qualifying. He doesn't have a spin now. I think those medium tires should be nice and warm right now. And they aren't too far away from nice and warm.
Duncan McCamick, though, he was consistently in those 410s. Now he's over his second back.
I think he might have just burnt his tires, or the damage has done something to his car because he was staying there, but...
So I definitely expect him to come in this lap.
I think he's definitely going to come in at the end of the lap to see, but let's see. He has a penalty. He's the highest ranked driver with a penalty, as we're past halfway in the Singapore Grand Prix. And into pits he goes. So, yep, Duncan pits, and so does Buko. Ooh, and he's overshot the pit exit by a mile, and he stopped it on time as well. Into the pit lane go Garrett Elder and Duncan McCamick, and this will be where they are on track. Let's see how powerful that undercut is. Freddie Rizal, the last driver in that train. He is coming just about he's at just about the final turn of the lap, and I think Freddie Rizal has undercut both Duncan McCamick and Blue Collar Jesus.
So
it is a very powerful undercut. It will be a very powerful undercut, as I said. I predicted it right, I think, with undercut around here.
Absolutely.
Both the Ferraris are now have to pit. One of them has to pit now. There's just nothing about it.
And Dougie Falcons is leading right now. So if you pit the leading Ferrari, do you pit the second one? You have to pit Dougie, right?
Yeah, you have to. You keep Nathan out one more lap.
Dang.
I would do that. I would pit the highest higher position driver first and then lower position driver. That's just what I would do. I wouldn't pit someone in case of a safety car coming out right now, which would be hugely beneficial for the Ferraris. Oh, and Nathan Doan spins it round, and that's him done.
He's definitely going to need to pit after that one.
Yeah.
Safety car, though, that
is exactly what Ferrari needed. Exactly what they needed.
Damn.
Dougie Falcons overtakes the safety car. Where's the disqualification for that? And there, McNerney with the time penalty of 3 seconds for...
As long as he doesn't get another warning, I think you can contest that if it's under safety car.
Yeah, if he cut a corner too much, Simon Colston stays out, but his teammate Max pits. That's exactly what Ferrari needed. So Nathan Doan didn't really get much of a penalty for spinning off.
And Fred comes out behind Max.
And Duncan is just ahead. Is just behind Nathan.
And Ethan Patel sneaks up ahead of Blue Collar Jesus as well.
Yeah, Ethan Patel with a good undercut as well, but it's benefited Freddie Rizal as well. He's got a big undercut now, and he's up into net P3. So this safety car has just broken away Nathan Doan and Duncan McCallick's progress, and it's helping Alvarez as well. It's brought him back in, but Alvarez, for one, is going to be under threat from the medium runners because he's on the hards. He was the first of anyone to pit. So I think we'll see Dougie Falcons and Simon Colston pit to obviously change tires, but it has worked well for Simon. He's up in a second, and he can pit and still rerun relatively high up.
Yeah, but
into the pits
goes
very
well for them.
Dougie Falcons onto the medium tires, and I think he will round out the race on that, unless there's another safety car within 7-8 laps.
So if there is a safety car, say lap 24, do you go to the softs, like no question?
Honestly, if there's nothing to lose, I would go for soft. If I'm, let's say, grid jokes, I would pit. If I am Big Mama Frank, I would pit.
But if you're Dougie Falcons, you're staying out?
No. Unless the people behind me do. Like, if it's, let's say, the guy in P2. If I'm, let's say, Freddy, I would wait for Duncan to pit. And then I will do what he does, so I can copy the guy ahead of me. Simon Colston as well, into the pits, and... Ooh, contact! Between Potato Skin and Simon. That is reminiscent of Felipe Massa in 2015 with Nico Hulkenberg when they collided. One of them was out of the pits and the other was on the track.
Well,
the tires for everybody.
There's contact there. They're lucky to have not gotten a drive-through under the safety car.
Yeah, they're lucky to just survive.
That could have been devastating.
We saw what happened to Massa in real life in 2015. We saw what happened with Hulkenberg in 2015. He's out of the race in a similar incident. Buy actually. I'm gonna go and buy this race, which is interesting, and I'll watch a real life Grand Prix pretty soon. I think the safety car will be in at the end of the next lap, lap 19. They've still got 3 drivers that are yet to catch up to the leading train here.
And you see Ethan Patel in P4, those cars right behind him, 5, 6, and 7, have quite a significant pace advantage on him. So it'll be interesting to see, how he defends, how he navigates these upcoming laps.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think, another lap of safety car. But all Ethan Patel has to do is just hold position, because you can get P4, and Duncan, Alvarez, Eric, Potato Skin, and even Mateo all have time penalties. So this could be an interesting end. As I said, it will haunt Duncan, the penalties around here.
As we peruse through the streets of Marina Bay.
And that's Mateo spinning on the safety
Wow,
car.
did he really? That is just so unfortunate.
Disappointing.
From Kid, what his name is? Kid Prodigy, Boy Wonder.
The young prodigy, but today hasn't been one of those days. I think the safety car will be in at the end of lap 19. So there will be 12 laps of racing here in Singapore. And it will be a tough one for some of the drivers. Duncan McCamick, who ran in third place before the safety car, has now been shafted, has now been shuffled back down to 7th. He's just lost so much time, but can he regain it?
Damn, Dougie Falcons leading the race. Run from it, dread from it.
And yeah, the safety car in at the end of lap 19 here in Marina Bay. So, we're going to get a 12-lap race to the checkered flag, and Dougie Falcons, all he has to do now is keep the lead of this race and don't make mistakes and don't get a time penalty from now on unless he can pull the gap. There's a massive train though, and a lot of people just struggling to get past. Dan had a moment, and Dougie Falcons, your race leader.
Let's see, can he catch him sleeping again?
Can Duncan get a restart done, or will Dougie catch someone asleep? When will the Ferrari driver pin the throttle? Ooh, and that's Duncan. He's gone and spun. Duncan has spun. And that's his race done.
Wow.
And Dougie Falcons has gone away. And Max isn't in contention. That's Dan into the pits. Duncan McCamick with a bad start, with a terrible restart. But Dougie Falcons leads this race.
Yep, already have a second up.
Yeah, already. And Ethan Patel has done exactly what he should have done. Nathan Dome versus Garrett Elder for 5th position. And into turn 7, not quite there. And Aaron McNerney, he's not going to be fancying on an Alvarez anytime soon, not into that part of the circuit. Mind, Potato, and Mateo spins around while fighting with good jokes, and that's a reset to the track. Not a good day for the child prodigy here on the streets of Singapore. His race leader, Dougie Falcons. Maz up in front. He's nearly a second already, and he is burning his battery like X-Max and Freddie Rizal.
Yeah, he's almost, I mean, by the end of this lap, he'll probably be out of that DRS range of Max, but it'll be close.
I think Dougie's just pushing so that he can get some strategic clean air, and Max doesn't. Max loses P2. And Duncan, to add insult to injury to an already bad race, has got another 3 seconds of time penalties on him.
Yikes.
A 140.0 for Dougie Falcons. The British driver is very much on it here.
And Eric McNerney on the tail of Alvarez.
Oh, those hard tires on the McLaren driver. Not working very well at the minute. Combined YouTuber. is ahead of both of them on penalties. The Australian driver, I don't think he has any, but if he does, here to look.
Oh, and Fred, pretty massive penalty. Can Ethan Patel
Fred.
stay within 3 seconds is a big question.
Yeah, that's the question indeed. Ethan Patel, can he stay within the 3-second penalty range? Combined YouTuber as well is being asked a similar question. Let's see. The Australian driver doesn't have a warning for track limits, so as it stands, if Combined YouTuber just stays in 9th place, he could be ahead of both Alvarez and Eric by the time we finish.
Yeah.
I think Combined YouTuber will need to just stay here, maybe get one of these guys, and as Grid Jokes has thrown it again with Big Mama Frank.
Yikes.
That's not good. That's another one for Duncan. Then overtaken by Mateo. I think this is going to be a disappointing end to... This is a disappointing race for Duncan McCalmick. And he's lost his end plate as well. And finally, Eric McNerney gets past Alvarez for 8th, for 7th place. And Alvarez on that medium tire combined YouTuber. Ooh, and Alvarez defending, but he messes up. Turn 2. He's going to allow combined and Potato Skin to get past him. And the Australian driver in the Haas gets right ahead, and he is up into 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy midfield battle right there. All the way down into P12. Wild Poros and the Alfa Romeo.
Wild Poros. Yep. Watching this. The Alpha versus McLaren battle. The second Alpha goes off the track of Wild Poros into turn 8. Doesn't have an opportunity. So, I think Alvarez is being pretty wide. He's making that McLaren pretty wide until he made a few mistakes and just got overtaken by Eric McNerney, and then he went wide at turn 2, which just added to the problems. But he has 6 seconds of penalties. So Freddie Rizal, Eric McNerney, Potato Skin, Mateo have 3 seconds, and Alvarez and Duncan have 6 seconds of penalties.
And it's only been, like two laps of clean running, and Ethan Patel already almost 2 seconds back from Freddie Rizal. So it's looking like by the end of the race, unless Ethan Patel really turns it on, that Freddie Rizal will be clear from behind.
Yeah, Freddie Rizal will have an easy one. Alvarez losing more places on that hard tire. He pits. Alvarez pits, which is interesting. He's lost his end plate, so I think it'll be a soft tire run for Alvarez, which is... Yeah, he's going back to the mediums. It's a bit disappointing for Alvarez because he had a good start.
Sorry to cut you off. Blue Collar Jesus overtaking Ethan Patel. Makes it stick.
Yeah, and he's gone down the inside into 7, and that's Blue Collar Jesus up into 4th place. Now, do you think Freddie Rizal will get X-Max here? He's side by he's looking all over the rear of that Mercedes, and I think as it stands, Freddie's just a faster driver at this rate.
Yeah, they got similar ERS as well. I'm thinking Fred's just going to try to push him into making a mistake, but that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, it's going to be all down to, I think, just making errors or mistakes, which is the truth. On.
Freddie Rizal still 3/10 back.
But let's see, Freddie Rizal versus X-Max, not in a turn 1. That's what. And Freddie Rizal now has to look out for another part of the circuit to see whether he can make an overtake. And X-Max is about twice the battery. It'll be pretty difficult for X-Max to get overtaken here, and he's using it. The result to no avail. Into 7. That's not going to make it happen into the best passing spot. Combined YouTuber hasn't shaken off Potato Skin just yet, and watch out for Simon Colston in that other Mercedes. Tried to fancy the look. Doesn't quite do it. Into turn 7. Then down into the next right-hander. He doesn't quite do it there as well. And the bottom 3 drivers are basically all out of the running today. And Alvarez with another penalty that's up to 9 seconds. So I think a good race for Alvarez. Just okay. Going down the drain. But let's see. There's 7 laps to go.
Yep, this race coming to an end quickly.
Yeah, it's coming on. People just want it to end. It's midnight, and the real Formula 1 race is in about an hour. There's X-Max. And then Mercedes. Mercedes versus Red Bull. They both not got much in the way of battery, but X-Max can play with it a little bit. He's got a little bit to use here. Freddie Result doesn't have any. And that's what's preventing the British driver from making the move.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot now. He's just absolutely spent all his battery, but to keep up with him, he's got to use a little bit, so it's just in this perpetual loop of just not having any batteries. Combined and Potato Skin fighting. Oh! Oh, and they bump wheels. There? Does this allow Simon to go through?
Yes, it has. It has. Combined YouTuber losing 2 places there. X-Max versus his big man. Dougie Falcons could also get a time penalty, but he is within. He's out of 3-second penalty range. So if he does get a time penalty, he is safe.
Yeah, Dougie's absolutely cruising right now.
Yeah, and Max versus Fred again. Not in a turn 1 as well. Toros is on 3 seconds of penalties, which won't help him.
Fred has a bit of a moment right there. Loses traction. Loses a little bit of time to Max. Almost
Fred
a second.
lost time. Fred's now out, and he's out of battery as well.
And Nathan Doan chasing down Ethan Patel. Is he going to make a lunge here? No, he doesn't.
No. And Gerduk's also another bad day for him. He's now on 3 seconds as well. The home hero. And Eric McNerney. As Duncan McCamick gets fastest lap in 16th place. And another penalty for Duncan.
Mateo right on the rear of Wild Pro. So those guys are all still so close together. Of course, they do have those 3-second time penalties, but
they're still tied together, which is true.
And Nathan Doan just glued to the rear of Ethan Patel.
Yeah, but he's too far back. But Nathan Doan has the battery advantage. He has 40% of his battery, and Ethan Patel is on about 19% as we speak. So Nathan has the battery advantage. If he wants to, he can make a move in a turn 1.
Just got to set up the overtake properly.
into the final few laps of this race. We go.
So around what lap? When do you think Nathan's gonna go for a bit of a dive on Ethan?
I would say lap 30, if he's still in behind by that time. I'll be right back.
As we get on board with the Hometown Hero Grid Jokes, Freddie Wurzel out of the session. Does this cause a safety car?
That is a big moment.
It does?
That's a big one. Yes.
Wow.
Ooh. I think they'll all pit for soft tires now. It's going to bring a lot of people back.
Now, is there a possibility that this race finishes under safety car?
No. There will, I think, be 2 laps of racing.
Well, let's see. What does Dougie Falcons do? He's going to be the first one to cross the pit entry. Does he go in? Does he stay out?
And that's a terrible day for Red Bull. A double retirement. See what happens to Dougie Falcons. He doesn't pit. Max also doesn't pit. But I think no one except some of the guys near the back, I think, Grid Jokes or those guys will
might as well
pit. Yeah, some of those guys, might, yeah, as you said, might as well just go and pit because if you're probably Dan, I would change tires and go for beatings. And it's also brought Duncan back in, but his 6-second time penalty is gonna put paid to him getting anything today.
And it looks like the only person to have gone into the pits out of that pack, excluding Dan and Duncan, is Big Mama Frank.
Yep. And Dan and Duncan are still not there yet, but here in Singapore, it's a good day to be a Ferrari fan, but a terrible day to be a Red Bull fan. But some people would be happier with things left in the past. And Duncan Mechanic pits for soft compound tires.
What happened to Freddie Rizal? Had to have just lost traction somewhere.
He probably hit the curb, I think, or tapped the wall on the entry. But crashed before it, so I would assume he just, lost traction on entry. There will be, I think, 3 laps of racing here in Marina Bay for this race. To wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Interesting to see a couple drivers to look out for. Obviously, Dougie Falcon's going to have a good restart, but down in P13, Big Mama Frank, the only guy, well, everyone in front of him has medium tires, but he has fresh soft, so, you know, if he can make the moves, if he can catch up to him, that's the guy to look out for.
Let's see then. We've got another 4 drivers that are still yet to catch up, so it will be, I think, 3 laps of action here in Marina Bay. But let's see, will any big...
Ethan Patel is an absolute moron.
Ethan Patel, why?
What?
What happened to... He spun
He just throttled it. I mean, it's really not even his fault. I'd argue his car's pointing straight, rams into the wall. Good lord.
Fatigue is kicking in for some of these
Dude,
guys.
exactly.
What I said
is
true.
Oh
I said it was
God.
true. I predicted this Grand Prix altogether. Anyway, the safety car will be in at the end of, I assume, lap 29, as the game will only allow for 2 laps, or 2 green flag laps after a race. If it doesn't come in at the end of this lap, it will finish behind the safety car. No ifs, no buts.
Well, let's hope it comes in this lap then. I mean,
yeah, it probably will because Duncan and Alvarez aren't that far from the pack.
Aye. Ethan and Fred, come on, fellas.
Ethan and Fred have completely ruined it today for themselves. In both divisions for Ethan.
Damn.
And into the final stages now. I think we will get 2 laps of racing. The question is though, yep, 3 laps of racing here in Singapore. Could Nathan Doan just get a podium despite spinning out and breaking his front wing, causing the first safety car of 3 today? Could it happen?
It's going to be tough.
Here on the streets of Singapore.
Garrett is going to have his elbows out. He's not going to, I mean, you know, this is a podium for Williams. He's not just going to give it up. Nathan's going to really have to work for it. So it's not impossible, but it's certainly not likely.
See, when will Dougie Falcons put that throttle down and start the final 2 laps of this race? 10.3 kilometers is all he has to do anything. Here we go. He's pinned it out of turn 22.
Great start from Max. A phenomenal start from Max.
Max has other ideas, though, into T1. That is another one. That is another one. While Porus and Dan have gone and bottled it, but Dougie Falcons survives the initial threat from X-Max.
And I think that was Max's move right there, and he just missed it.
Combined, but Potatoes can get Simon as well. Combined YouTuber now, the Australian. No warnings in this race. He will, I think, just get it.
Ooh.
Grey Joke's losing position to Big Mama Frank. He's on that C5, the softest tire available. But he's getting bullied by the soft drivers today, and
what in the world is going on right there?
Having something that should be reserved for.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
Oh, and that is a late move from Mateo. That's a late block. But Duncan McCamick gets Grey Jokes, and he is rammed into the. He just rammed into. And Duncan has taken.
Oh my God! What the hell just
happened?
Both
have taken themselves out. If you ram into someone, you get the return for it.
I just heard Big Mama Frank release the most unbelievable sigh, just that I
absolute pit maneuver. Absolute pit maneuver.
The disappointment
in this.
The disappointment in his breath. I could feel it.
Yeah. A top 10 has gone down the drain, but as it stands here in Singapore, only 13 of 20 drivers are going to finish. So only 60% of the field will finish this Grand Prix.
And this is supposed to be, I mean, this is Division 2. They're supposed to be way cleaner, way better, but, you know.
Not clean. That's for sure. Not clean. Huh. Not a clean one today. X-Max, he's dumping, doesn't have a lot of battery. Dougie is using some. And Good Jokes will probably be saved from a top 10, will probably take a top 10 finish today.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, given where he was at the start of the race, it is unbelievable. Hard to predict this race, as I said, with the safety cars, the crashes, the rain, which we didn't get, but we got in D3. It has been an interesting race. A lot of safety cars, a lot of stuff has happened up and down the field, and it's still kind of been dull.
Yeah, it's
in
been,
a sense.
Yeah, everything's happened up and down the field, but really the only thing that happened to the leaders was a self-inflicted wound by Nathan Doan. I guess Freddie Rozelle also self-inflicted, but that 1-2 position, I mean, just really stayed the same.
Now, Dougie Falcons has led most of this race, has taken everything there is to take here in Singapore. And he is coming around the final sector here in Marina Bay to take another dominant drive. Survived 2 safety car restarts.
And Nathan Doan had a moment. He's down into P6 now.
And he's lost his front wing, yes. He's lost his front wing as Dougie Falcons wins the Singapore Grand Prix. And Simon Costa dives up the inside. And combined YouTuber, just about, he gets 5th place. So a top 5 finish for, and your Singapore Grand Prix is run and done. We'll see you for Division 1 tomorrow.
Absolutely. That was a fun race.
Yeah, fun ending.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable ending to this race here in Singapore.
And look at that, all those time penalties from P7 down to everyone
Jeez.
that finished. Oh my god. Yeah, and combined YouTuber in that P5.
Come on, YouTuber. Wow. So, Dougie Falcons is your D2 race winner in Singapore. X-Max in second place. Blue Collar Jesus in third. Simon Colson with a brilliant drive in fifth. Combined YouTuber with a strong fifth place. Nathan Dillon throwing away pole position and a possible win with this first spin. And another moment down at sixth. Aaron McNerney with penalties. Potato Skin with penalties. Mattel with penalties. Goodux with penalties. Wall Pros with penalties. And penalties all up and down the field. Duncan McCamick. Big Wilma Frank. Technic Speedy. Freddie Rizal. Sarah. Hoka Droldy. And Noax are your did not finish drivers from the Singapore Grand Prix. Hope you enjoyed us. And we will see you for the next race at COTA at the Circuit of the Americas in 2 weeks' time. Do you think we'll get the...
Absolutely. Yeah, and Max.
Oh, Garrett Elder, congratulations on your third place finish.
Thank you.
How was your race, if you have anything to talk about it?
I felt like it was pretty good. Felt like I deserved to be up there. A few people got in front of me that shouldn't have been up there, but they ended up taking themselves out.
What do you think, like, obviously you had a great Q2. What happened in Q3? Why couldn't you replicate that performance?
So the way I've been driving the track is it's very sketchy. I have to nail it. Like I was running 36.2s during some practice, but I couldn't hit my line in Q3.
Damn. Damn. Well, I mean, it was a great race for you. I mean, bit of a weird one. That whole pack was you know, that there's 6 man of you, but you ended up in P3 just by really staying clean. So great race. If you have anything else, I think that's it.
Thank Barney, our engineer, and Dan, my teammate.
Oh yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Garrett. Great race. Great driver as always. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, guys.
Great drive, and see you in Austin in 2 weeks.
Plan to win it.
Hell yeah.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Mr.
Congratulations
Max.
on second place.
Hey, thanks, man.
You're welcome. How was your race?
It was actually quite nice in the beginning. There was a long DRS train, and Freddy was the entire time behind
Oh
me,
my
and
God.
sometimes he got very close behind me. But even after he went for a very early undercut, I was able to stay ahead because of the safety car. And after that, I don't know exactly what happened. Did he just lose it somewhere?
You know, unsure. I think he just lost traction somewhere, yeah, and just banging into a wall.
Oh man, I actually just wanted to say, the moment before Ethan spins, I have Leo on tape saying, "Oh, Ethan is doing better than D3," so I'm going to share that with General later.
Didn't age well, did it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations on second place, and we'll see you in Austin in 2 weeks.
Alright, see you in Austin.
Yeah.
And then lastly,
Our
Dougie
race winner.
Falcons.
The man himself.
If we can get him in here. There he is. Oh.
He's in the way.
There we are. Dougie.
Hello.
Hello.
So,
Congratulations on your win in Singapore.
yeah, absolutely. Firstly, congratulations. Secondly, was it as clean as you wanted? Did you, like overall, or did you feel like you could have done some things a little bit better?
I would say, yeah, I could have done a lot better in the first stint because I think Nathan was a lot quicker than me at the beginning. Um, I was kind of tentative because I was kind of like I jumped off Duncan off start and I thought maybe I'll just hold position and see what happens. And yeah, good race. Towards the end, the safety car came out and it kind of was fortunate. The first one, because I think Freddie would have jumped us at the time. And I think we probably wouldn't have won that race. But we had very good pace on the mediums. The mediums was great. It felt great. And yeah, overall it was just a pretty straightforward race to the end. But at the beginning and the middle of it, it was kind of complicated.
All right. So congratulations on your win, and we'll see you in Austin in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, great race. Talk to you later, Dougie.
See ya.
Well, Mr. Cube, that was it. I'm ready to go. Adios.